Hello everyone, welcome back to Blender. As you can see, I am working on the Akira class starship, but this is not going to be an episode on the Akira class. Actually, this is another one of the episodes that I did last week. It's just going to be a real quick episode where I show off a couple of my other Blender models for those of y'all that are kind of interested. And what's going to be interesting about this particular episode is that I am not going to be showing, well, let me try again. Hello everyone, welcome back to Blender. I am working on the Akira class right now, but this particular episode is not based on the Akira class. Actuality, this is going to be another one of the episodes similar to what I did last week, where I'm actually going to take the time to show off another one of my ships, another particular type of model that I've done. I've been modeling for quite some time. I've said before, I said again, I don't always consider myself a professional in any particular way, um, in any particular type of way or form. I'm just kind of a hobbyist, you might probably say. But some of y'all have, see interest into my model making, and plus, I'm also getting a little bit tired of, you know, making these models and not really having anybody see it, which is why I am doing this, doing these episodes. So to show off my models, but also if there's anything that y'all can learn, then great. Then I'm actually making a contribution to the community, you might probably say. So, this particular episode, what I am going to be doing instead of showing off because lately what I've been doing, what y'all's been seeing me do is, oops, what I do is Star Trek models and starships and everything like that. But I decided I want to go ahead and kind of venture out, you might probably say, because I don't always do just strictly, Star Trek starship models. I've done a whole bunch of other things, and I still continue to do a whole bunch of other things. So this episode is going to demonstrate and show off a whole other side of the sci-fi franchise that I have also done models for. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right out and open up another file to show you something from in a different flavor, you might probably say. So I will be back in just 1 second. All right, everybody, and we are back, and I present to you the mobile suit Tallgeese. If y'all are not familiar with or don't recognize this particular type of model, this is the Tallgeese from the Gundam Wing series. Gundam Wing was kind of a offset, well, not necessarily a spin-off, but kind of an offset series of the Gundam franchise. It takes place in an alternate universe from the Gundam Mobile Suit Gundam series. And the Tallgeese was a kind of it's one of those characters. When I say characters, the pilot of the Tallgeese was one of those characters. It was a hero, anti-hero, antagonist throughout the series, depending on what part of the episode, which episode it was in. Sometimes the the pilot was the antagonist, and sometimes he was the hero, and sometimes he was kind of an anti-hero. You know, and this Tallgeese was the mobile suit that he primarily was known for. The particular character, Miliardo Peacecraft, also flew a couple of other Gundams as well, but this one right here was one of the last ones that he flew, because this one right here, as you could probably tell if you start looking at the headdress here, is actually the Tallgeese III. There wasn't much discerned differences between the Tallgeese 1, Tallgeese 2, and Tallgeese 3 throughout the series. But the Tallgeese 3 was most noticeably different because of the headdress, and it also carried, I can't think of what the name is, but this particular weapon here, which was kind of a leftover of another mobile suit that he piloted. Now, why did I create this? For one, I was and still somewhat am a big fan of the mobile wing. It was my series that kind of got me into the mobile suit, Gundam mobile suit universes. I've watched a couple of the other series, but nowhere near as much as I've watched the Gundam Wing series. But the reason about why I created this is that this was created for a fan film that I was planning on doing, that me and my wife actually was planning on doing. And a little bit of details about it right now is that it was kind of a crossover between Mobile Suit Gundam or Gundam Wing and Transformers. We had this entire idea plot out, the entire storyline and everything, and this was going to be the hero suit throughout the entire series. And so this one I've almost had completed. I mean, there's the modeling was pretty much almost done. I think there might have been a couple of little details that I went back and looked at, and I decided, like right here, I wanted to kind of fix and clean up a little bit. The legs, like these little boots here, they were, oops, nope, that's not what I wanted. They were a little bit low poly, so I was thinking about going in and making them a little bit higher poly to smooth. But for the most part, I was actually pretty uh, pleased with this particular model. Now, I didn't design it from the perspective of, or by using, not perspective, I mean using orthographic photos, but I actually had the model kit of this, so I went primarily with the model kit for it. So it might not look exactly like it did in the television series, but it's pretty darn close from what I've seen. I didn't get around to texturing because there were some texture details that I wanted to put on, so I didn't texture. And I've actually started putting in the, as you can see here, the skeletal structure, tying it in. I didn't get finished with some of the constraints that is necessary to animate the thing properly, but I was starting to get a little bit closer. And see, I'm trying to think. Oh, the hands I wasn't also complete with because I kind of used these hands that I wasn't real too happy with. I wanted to go back in and model the hands and actually make them look a little bit more mechanical. Put in notches and gears and things inside it because this was like a generic hand that I created for, using for all my mobile suits, and I was never really happy with it. I was, let's just say, just a little bit lazy. I didn't think at the time that most people would pay attention to the hands, but then I ended up doing a shot in one of my test videos where it did a close-up of the hand because it had the sword in the hand, which is right here. And after seeing that, I was like, you know what, I really need to kind of put a touch, more details with the hand. But let's go ahead and go into render mode because one of the things that I did differently with this particular type of models that I did with the other ones is, oops, I need some light. There we go. Is I went ahead and did a toon shader on it because because it was based off of cartoon, both the Star Trek and the Gundam Wing series was both based off of cartoons. I wanted to try to get it that cartoon type look. So went with this toon shader and actually kind of worked out very well. I was actually pretty impressed with the way that it was rendering it. Every once in a while there would be some issues that it would render some, like right here you could see with the shadowing, it would render some very hard shadow lines, across the texture, but that was I mean, it wasn't really noticeable. It wasn't noticeable to the point to where, I mean, if you're really going through a lot of action sequences or quick sequences, you really couldn't tell. But all in all, I was really kind of impressed with the way that this turned out. But I'm not quite done with it. I still have a bit of work, such as, once again, the texturing. I didn't get around to texturing. Everything that you see here is, let me go out of shaded mode here. All of these right here are just assigned colors, Tallgeese blue and what have you, and it really only had like, three primary colors inside it, but I wanted to go in to give it textures to try to highlight some of the details such as panel lines, grid lines and things, put some little, Easter eggs and stuff on it, such as, like um, you know, like somewhere around in here where the cockpit was at, little writings and scriptures and arrows pointing to the cockpit, stand clear, stuff like that, you know, um, you know, talking about the power source, nuclear, with the nuclear hazard sign, little textures, little details like that. Maybe even some grime and stuff along the joints and things. Because even though it was on a cartoon, I wanted it to look a little bit more realistic. I mean, still keep kind of that cartoon vibe, but at the same time trying to keep it realistic. And I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that would kind of describe what I was going for. Um, you know, you look at it, it still you know, looks more realistic than the standard cartoon itself did, but at the same time, you still look at it and it didn't look 100% completely real. So the toon texture kind of gave off that vibe to where it was cartoonish, and the textures and stuff would have given it a little bit of the vibe to where it was a little bit more realistic than what was portrayed in the television series. Because the fanfic was actually kind of a mix between CGI and actually animation. It wasn't hand-drawn animation; it was going to be flash animation. But so I did a couple of test videos on it, and the effects was actually pretty good. It was actually very promising. But I had to abandon the project because of some other stuff that got inside the way. And you know, preparing for this video, I was talking about it, chatting about it, with my wife, about us creating our little, about us creating it. And, who knows, maybe we might probably go back and revisit it, or maybe I might even just, post some quick little scenes online, of the animations. But before I do that, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Not only, I mean, with the modeling, once again, I want to remodel the hands. I need to throw some thrusters in the bottom of the feet here. Plus also I need to kind of go in and fix, once again, with the, let's go into front. Also going to need to try to fix some details with the, with even the skeleton, because sometimes with the skeleton, let's see if I can select it here. If you try moving it, it doesn't quite move right, which I'm going to try to show y'all right here. Like, for example, if we pay attention on this side of the screen right here, actually, I can probably go into solid mode now. If I move this piece right here, it intersects with that model. Now, there's another bone that I put in to where I can maneuver that, and that kind of negates that, but it still intersects in some areas. So, and looking at that, I was thinking, I'd probably need to put like an additional bone in here that will operate, whoops, this piece here to kind of shift it and move it out of the way. So as this moves up, so there's no intersection, because I don't like the way that it, I've seen some people's animations and, with the robots and stuff, and you get that intersections there, and it just doesn't, it just kind of takes away for me personally, it brings me out of the moment. So if I ever really do something like that, I really need to go in, and it really won't take too much. I've learned quite a bit on how to properly set up skeletons and things. In fact, I'd probably start with a whole new type of skeleton, but it is movable. I can move it quite a bit. It's just, once again, the constraints aren't there, because what I'm talking about constraints is things that would allow it to where I'd only move it this way. So if I grab this bone and I move it, I can't move it. I wouldn't be able to move it this way because it's not designed to move that way, but I'd be able to move it this way because it's constrained to only move in that direction. Right now, there's no constraints into it, so it moves every which way and what have you. Same thing with the legs. So you don't want this leg moving that way. Look, it's like river dancing. Or, you want to move it this way, but you don't want to move it back that way. So you put constraints in. So, and in fact, there was even supposed to be a way to where I can grab it, like grab a bone here, and I just move that, and because of the constraints, the entire leg will move. But anyways, so this was just going to be a short episode, and here I am that I'm, talking on and on and on, and I don't want to do that. But yeah, this is going to be the Tallgeese III. This is a Mobile Suit Gundam. Said once again, just to kind of show y'all that I don't always do, starships. I do other things as well. I always love, huge robots and things, and so I really kind of had fun modeling this thing. And once again, I was actually kind of surprised with the way that it turned out, and I wasn't too disappointed with it. And I designed other mobile suits as well, some of the Leos, the Serpents, and things, and even made a couple of my original designs, which I might show up in another episode. But until those episodes, I want to go ahead and just say thank y'all for watching. If y'all have any, you know, um, let me know what y'all think about it. Once again, I'm kind of gauging with, responses on whether if any of these particular type of, suits or things, do I want models, do I want to, which ones do I want to finish? Which ones do I want to, redo, or, should I just leave them alone? And this is all that you see of them. So I don't know. He said part of this is kind of what y'all probably think. So y'all let me know. But until then, this is B Belt Dan, and I want to thank y'all for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.